Hello. Peace agreement remains pending, with one side often trying to shift attention from unresolved core to work already done. We are talking about Azerbaijan-Armenia peace agreement that is procrastinated by Yerevan for always vile reasons. We'll talk more about this on Baku Network with our guest on Baku Network, with Professor László Vasa from Hungary. Welcome, studio, dear Professor.
Thank you for the invitation.
Uh, there are several fundamental and decisive matters that Azerbaijan has consistently demanded Armenia to address it. And as a European expert observing the region, how do you assess the delay in the finalization of the peace agreement between these two sides? I mean, Azerbaijan and Armenia.
Yes, frankly, it is not a surprise. We are talking about the Caucasus, and we can see clearly that in the long history there were several conflicts among between the different nationalities and nations there. But this case is a bit really surprising. First of all, because in my opinion, as an observer from abroad, covering the region, it would be quite logical and quite useful, I would say, for Armenia to make the deal, to make the peace, because without the peace, this country will lose a lot. Because if we are talking just about geopolitics, I don't really know what the expectations of Armenia are, who will support and protect them, and how and against what. Uh, because if we just talk about the latest development of this huge geopolitical track of the middle corridor, it is easily made without Armenia. But if the relations would be consolidated between Armenia and Azerbaijan and between Armenia and Turkey, they would gain a lot without losing anything. So it is really not clear why they are not at least pragmatic in this sense, because they do not have to give up anything, except their needs for Karabakh, which is set in their constitution. But frankly, realistically, it is not possible to make, even not in the midterm, I think. And from the other hand, so this is geopolitics and or geoeconomics, but the geopolitics. We are talking about Azerbaijan and Turkey, who are, let's say, surrounding almost the whole country. I mean, Armenia. They have fair relations with Shiite Islamic but theocratic Tehran, I mean Iran, and they have an ambivalent relation with Georgia, especially in nowadays when Georgia gave up the European dreams. So strong players are around Armenia, and it is not clearly not really clear what Armenia expect. I mean, the European Union or France or any country will support them in such isolation. So it's absolutely not understandable what Armenia is doing. Clear, there is a domestic politics issue. The opposition of Pashinyan is mainly based on the Karabakh people, and for sure the diaspora, which is living abroad, not in Armenia, but influencing their politics, not only the domestic politics but the international politics as well. So I think that Armenia should sign the peace agreement, but instead they are blaming Azerbaijan to block the peace talks and to not to accept the agreement. So now they are replacing the real actions with the media again in the international scene.
It's not only blaming, also it's not really fulfilling its obligations. It has already taken, and Nikol Pashinyan has several times he confirmed that is ready to do what Azerbaijan, what official Baku has just put as a commitment in front of Armenia. I'm just going to come back to this question. By the way, I always ask these questions and try to make it very simple for understanding and for realization. Let's imagine, hypothetically, you are a neighbor of Armenia, and part of your territory had been previously occupied by it. But essentially, placing yourself in Azerbaijan's position, in such a context, if Armenia, while still having territorial claims against your country, enshrined in its constitution, especially, which is now currently in Azerbaijan's case, approach to you and sign peace deal, what will be your first and foremost demand as a country? Let's say, I just put Hungary in Azerbaijan's place.
Yes, it's an absolutely valid question, and we know it very well in a different context because we have minorities around our neighbors in our neighboring countries. And after the changes, we started with making new agreements with the new neighbors. I mean, with not Czechoslovakia but Slovakia, which was fully part of Hungary for the former Hungarian kingdom, and also Ukraine, where the Zakarpatskaya Oblast was a 1,000-year-long part of Hungary or more. And also with Romania, which 1/3 of Romania was in fact part of the Hungarian kingdom, and also Serbia, and so on. And we started to make a new fundamental and strategic, let's say, agreement, which we are not calling peace agreement because we never had war. But as we have minorities there, we acknowledged that we have no territorial claims towards Slovakia or Romania or Ukraine and so on, and we started from that point. Somehow similar is the situation in Armenia, because it's obvious that they should change the constitution in that way, because without that, any new political power is coming to the government. They can say, okay, the previous government made the deal, but in the constitution is stated that Karabakh is belonging Armenia. So I absolutely understand this criteria of the Azerbaijani party to include into the agreement, and in fact, I am sure that Ivan Pashinyan can accept and understand it. The question is the overall feeling of the Armenians. So the domestic politics is the issue, as far as I know, which can be easily influenced by the domestic media and the diaspora influence and international media.
Yeah. And I want to say here, we don't have only the issue of constitution, but we have plenty of issues that Armenia is starting to just put forward, and in order to procrastinate anyway this peace agreement. And one of them is that Armenia is now is getting back to its old habit. So recently, Armenia has reverted to its old habit, as I said, and it's appealing to international institute regarding its bilateral, let's say, relations with Azerbaijan. And you might have come across two remarks by, let's say, made by Armenian MP Artur Hovhannisyan recently during the 32nd session of the Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of European in Portugal, European Union in Portugal. So in a statement, the MP called upon international institutions, including the OSCE Parliamentary Assembly, to intervene in the peace process as third-party mediators. My question is, Professor, why does Armenia, despite being an independent state, have such a persistent tendency to involve external actors in what are fundamentally bilateral issues?
I think they feel weak alone. That is why they are always trying to involve the organizations which are influenced by their Western partners and Western friends. It was abused also in the Council of Europe or European Council Parliamentary Assembly 2 years ago and last year. It's absolutely true. They should make the peace negotiations by themselves, especially because after many years of mediated peace talks, finally, I don't know, 2 years ago or last year, I don't remember exactly. Finally, the bilateral talks started, and this was a really big result. That Armenia and Azerbaijan can negotiate without any mediators, and now they are returning to the old shame. It's really interesting, but I think this is the sign that they start to realize that at the end of the day they have to sign this peace, and they are hoping that with international pressure they can somehow bargain or negotiate for better solutions. I mean, for them, which is better for them. I can't see any other reason. They have good speakers, they have good politicians and good negotiators. They know what they want to have. So I think, and they have a legal and legally elected government. So absolutely, they should make this deal alone and not with their friends, international organizations. It's absolutely clear. Especially because, once again, the situation is already consolidated in that sense that Azerbaijan and Armenia are able and ready and capable to talk with each other in the form of bilateral talks. So it is not going like between, let's say, Israel and Palestine, where we really need the UN or any mediator. So the situation is absolutely different already. So I think this is a kind of tactics of them, how to extend the time frame or how to make the peace process longer. And this is pure domestic politics issue, I think.
And by the way, another tactic from Armenia is that just calling Azerbaijan and diverting this issue of the issue of Western Azerbaijanis that who are wishing to return to their ancestral lands. I mean, I would like to hear your thoughts on the fate of Western Azerbaijanis. And it's a matter that has been persistently overlooked by Armenia. Nikol Pashinyan, Prime Minister of Armenia. And in the 1980s, I want to mention the history here. Hundreds of thousands of Azerbaijanis were expelled from what is now Yerevan, and it's the capital of Armenia, and suburban cities all around Armenia now. And these displaced people are now seeking to return to their homeland by appealing to Yerevan administration, which presents itself as a symbol of democracy. But however, they're met with rejection. I mean, Western Azerbaijan is met with rejections. And from a democratic perspective, how should such a situation be interpreted? I know that you might bring up the return of Armenians to Karabakh in response, but I would like to clarify in advance that Azerbaijan has already expressed support for the reintegration of Karabakh Armenians, as you remember, and going as far as proposing citizenship for those who wish to remain in and live peacefully under Azerbaijan sovereignty, but unfortunately they refused. They didn't accept it. They wanted another so-called flag or to create another so-called republic within Azerbaijan's territory. But it's another story. This is about the Western Azerbaijanis who really wanted to turn back to their ancestral lands and live in Armenia, but Armenia doesn't accept it. So what do you think about that? How should such situation be interpreted, dear Professor?
Yes, I'm absolutely aware of the situation and of the initiative of Azerbaijan, where the Armenians, our Karabakh Armenians, are welcome back. I know very well that all the minority rights were provided, and I am also sure that they would live much better than as refugees in their home country in Armenia. But Yes, indeed, it is. It is a very, very frustrating situation, especially if we are taking into consideration the European Union's approach.
Yeah.
The European Union, which is always emphasizing the rights of the minorities and the refugees and IDPs, here they are saying absolutely nothing.
Mhm.
They are not saying that yes, the Western Azerbaijanis have the right to return and they should get back what they had, or at least their rights should be regulated. And they are talking nothing about that, but they are talking about the rights of Armenians in Azerbaijan. So it is
Yes.
really, really a frustrating situation. But it is not a surprise for us Hungarians because we know the European Union very well, and we know how they are playing the double standard games. In this regard, I think that these questions should be amended and regulated somehow in the peace talks, within the peace talks. In a normal world, it should work very well. We have several examples in Europe where two nations were like enemies, like Germany and France, and now they are living peacefully together. So I am quite optimistic in this regard, but I am afraid that it takes a long, long time until this problem will be solved in a peaceful way.
Well, final question will be the peace agreement again. I want to come back to this, which is very important now, but it's stalled by reasons that we already discussed. In a time when global balances are shifting and economic instability, especially that is spreading all around the world, how do you envision the new future of the South Caucasus? Do you foresee a resolution of the peace process between Baku and Yerevan in the short term, or is further delay expected in this peace agreement?
As I mentioned at the beginning, it would be very logical to make the peace ASAP, as soon as possible, because it is a sincere interest, first of all, of Armenia. So if they are not taking action, then they will be out of the game. I mean, they will remain isolated, while Georgia and Azerbaijan and Turkey will flourish in economic terms, because the middle corridor will bring so much changes that I used to say that it can bring the new golden age for these countries, or the first golden age, let's say, in some cases. So the perspectives are very much positive, and I know very well that even the Armenians are having plans how to join these connectivity projects. But if the peace is not negotiated and not made, they will be out of this opportunity. I would say that in my evaluation. The peace should come in short term. I see also some movements in the world politics. I mean, among the powers, especially connected to the middle corridor. The middle corridor is more important than just it will be benefiting Georgia and Azerbaijan. It is more important for Europe and China than for the countries who are involved. Frankly, I mean, in the macro perspective. So I can imagine that even China and the European Union will push Armenia at the end of the day to make the peace, because this is the only risky situation along the middle corridor. So the investments are inflowing to that regions where there are no uncertainties. But if there are any risks for any conflicts, which are still existing, first of all because of potential provocations by the Armenian side, the investors are not likely investing any money, and also the insurance fees and others are different for sure. Even if Armenia is not involved, so all the big players are interested in the peace, all the big players are interested in the business without risks. So moreover, even Russia is interested in the peace, because for Russia it is more important to maintain the the north-south trade connections via Azerbaijan than any Armenian interests. Meanwhile, Armenia is very much it's very much depending on Russia still. But they are not really talking about it. So I can easily imagine that a kind of big powers coalition will force Armenia to make the deal finally, because what we are talking about in international perspectives, it is a peanut. So what about we are talking that because it is in the constitutions, we are not signing the peace? Okay, let's change the constitution. So we can see that that there are very strong leaders in the US, in China, in Russia, not in Europe, by the way, but still in Europe we will see what will be Germany's interest. Germany would like to stop this decline in their industry, which for what the middle corridor is essential. So I think at this level, the powers, the big powers and the middle powers will be more pragmatic. And we also clearly see that Turkey is doing its best to accelerate and facilitate this peace talk. So I'm optimistic in this sense. I am just afraid not to be provoked by, even if not Armenia, but let's say in France or something, who are, because still there are countries in Europe who are interested in maintaining the conflict feeling in this region.
Yeah, sure. As with Azerbaijan's growing influence in the region, especially Iran, also Armenia's growing interest in having a relationship with Azerbaijan and both with Turkey, and things are going to be so close to the peace agreement, as you mentioned, of course, because sooner or later Armenia will come back to this and will find the right path, just choosing the peace in the region, because this is the only way and this is the only solution for eternal security and safety for the region. Thank you very much, dear Professor. Professor László Vasa from Hungary. We had a guest and discussed Armenia-Azerbaijan peace negotiations. And thank you for watching us. See you later.